Hi everyone, this is Paul here with a report on the Sun's movement out of Pisces into Aries. The past few months we've been looking at letting go of the past, figuring out what goals do we want to take action on, and also clearing out all the olds that we don't need, ready to make space for when the new growth arrives in springtime. Now, the past few months, obviously Capricorn, Aquarius, Pisces, these are all about looking at what gifts we have and also planning on what we want to grow next. So that's doing what the winter months like for the northern hemisphere. Obviously for the southern hemisphere it's very much about growth, but with the sun's passage into Aries now, it marks a significant changing of the seasons. So we're departing winter and entering spring here in the north, and in the south obviously moving out of summer into winter. With the sun moving into Aries, just meaning this is a time of rebirth. It's definitely rebirth of the ego to some extent, because we need the ego in order to take actions on our dreams and our aspirations. There's also a chance to regenerate our sense of who we are and figure out what growth do we want to achieve over the next few months. Because now with the sun's moving into Aries, we begin a whole new cycle of growth where we have a chance to decide what is it that we want to grow within ourselves, and both internally and externally, and where do we see ourselves moving towards. So we've been looking at some of the dream work in Pisces, figuring out what goals do we actually want to achieve. Now with the sun moving into Aries, this is really the time of action, of making sure that we hit the ground running, and whatever new beginnings we've got the seeds of, we make sure they're planted so they can actually grow. If we don't take the action to plant the seeds, we will not get any crops over the rest of the year. So this is a very important point at this time, that we make sure that whatever new beginnings we want to sow the seeds of, we actually take the action to do it. Otherwise it just remains a pipe dream and it will never manifest, because without action nothing can be achieved. It's all very well and good looking at the art of manifestation and dreaming and manifesting through meditation, but without the action component, things just will not materialise. That's just the way things are. If you want something to happen, you've got to take an action aligned with divine laws, and then things will start moving from there. But without that initial action, which Aries is very good at, the dreams that we have for ourselves just won't grow, because action is a key part of it. So it's a time of renewal, rebirth, and making sure that the seeds are in the ground and we've taken action. Aries is very good when it comes to courage in the face of fear, because any new beginning usually is fear in us if we're used to being a certain way, but the most worthwhile dreams will usually have an element of stress to them, because they're challenging us to step outside our comfort zones and not just stick to the comfort of the familiar. And it also requires us to have the courage to take action in order to do this. We may also find ourselves need to assert our sense of self-identity stronger, which is another element of Aries. But the key thing with this side of things is, with Aries, it's ruled by Mars, which is the planet of action, and one thing we need to be careful of is that we don't associate our identity with our actions. It's an offshoot of the identity, it's not our identity itself. So when we're taking all these actions to try and manifest our goals and our dreams, it's important that we don't forget who we are at the core of ourselves, and that we maintain a connection with our soul self, and don't just get so caught up in action and the whims of the ego that we forget who we are, and then the whole thing starts going astray. So that's an element that we need to be careful of. But at the other end, Aries is very good at self-actualization, so realizing a strong sense of self and asserting it and building a very powerful sense of self-identity independent of others. And as long as when we're doing this we're not being impulsive and hurting other people in the process, then it's fine, because self-realization is the first step towards God realization, as the saying goes. So we have to know ourselves first if we truly want to have a strong knowing relationship with the divine, because each one of us is a divine spark, but if we don't know ourselves, properly, then there's only so much, so far we can get in terms of getting closer to our divine nature and getting in touch with God, universe, divinity, call it whatever name feels best for you. They're all different labels for the same thing ultimately. But at this time, if you've got some dreams, remember to take action. If you're not entirely sure what to do, look at the dream, figure out what practical things need to be done in order to manifest it, and then take the action. The ruling planet of Aries is Mars, and he's in Taurus at the moment. So with him being in Taurus, Mars' energy is going to be very practical at this time. So that, whilst it may not be in his home sign, it may actually be a significant benefit for us that he's in a very practical sign. So Mars' energy will be able to be guided in a very practical way and not necessarily quite as impulsive as it would be in his home sign of Aries. And if we use this devoted practical action wisely, we can take a significant step to getting the seeds to germinate and make sure that whatever we want to manifest starts growing. Because if we don't take those initial steps to make sure that the seed germinates and grow, then the rest, there's no much point to the rest of the year, because each step along the astrological cycle is important, and Aries sets the whole thing off through taking the initial action to manifest whatever dreams we want. After that, we obviously require Taurus' patience and perseverance to do the small things that need doing on a consistent basis to take it further. But without the initial impetus of Aries to get things started, then we won't get very far. Because Aries is like the pioneer. It's the one that marches out into the unknown and figures out what route can be carved through this place. What can we create for ourselves that hasn't been created before? So it's courage to face the unknown and take action without necessarily knowing what the long-term goal or picture will turn out to be. So it fits in very nicely with the whole idea that set the intention and the goal and take actions towards it, but don't get fixated on how it's achieved. As long as we've got a goal in mind, we know roughly what the end outcome we want to achieve is, and we take the initial actions to initiate things, then as long as we remain open after that to guidance to how to keep things going and take action in line with that guidance, then the goals that we set for ourselves are very much achievable for ourselves, no matter how much our own limiting beliefs or self-doubts may be, or no matter what the naysayers may tell us. It's important that we stay true to ourselves. We believe that we have the capacity to take the right action to manifest our goals, and as long as those actions are not egotistic and are not going to be committed at the expense of another person, then the goals that we've set have a strong likelihood of manifesting in the long term. But action needs to be taken on a consistent basis. Aries is a good time to learn how to do this if we're not used to doing it, but after Aries we need to keep taking those actions. It's not just a 1 month period of action then we just get to laze around. It doesn't work like that. But Aries is very good at the whole rebirth, renewal, taking action to get things started, and having the courage to face the unknown, because the unknown is something that scares most people, because we're used to our comfort zone because that's the familiar. But if we truly want to grow, we have to step outside of it and face the unknown. And the courage of Aries and willingness to do things despite the stress of it is a key asset that Aries can give to us, as long as we choose to harness it. But remember, this transit does not happen to you. It may impel us, but it doesn't force us to do anything. We all have our own free will. We all get to choose what we want to do, to some extent. But the astrology kind of helps us set the guidance to when is a good time to do things, what are the general themes of the time, and how can we use it to best time ourselves with the universal cycles. But as I said, Sun in Aries doesn't force us to do anything, and just gives us certain resources at this time of year to try and help us sync ourselves up with the natural cycles of life, where growth starts in the spring, matures over summer, obviously dies back in autumn, and then during the winter months, that's when we take that time to rest and plan for the next year. But for now, it's time to set the plant the seeds of new beginnings and take the right actions to make it happen. So I hope it's a useful guide of what the sun's transit through Aries may signify for the next month or so, and may this year be one of wondrous growth for you.